she got you on your edge of your chair, anticipating. It gets spicy, like right around this like middle portion.
Whoa, check it out!
Like that though. Do I look like Kamani? Where did she go? Where did she go, babes?
I bet everyone we know saw it.
But the internet is forever.
Good night, Candace.
What's up, beautiful people of the world? It's your girl Kiera here, coming back to another video we love. In today's video, I am coming back to you guys with another book video. And in this book video, I'm going to be giving you guys some recommendations from books that I've read in 2021. These books, speechless. Like, they're literally so good. And if you didn't know already, I do post on my Instagram pretty frequently all the books I read with ratings and small descriptions of each book, and I put all of those posts in a highlight on my Instagram. So if you ever want to check up on what I might be reading, literally just go to my Instagram, follow my Instagram. Before this video begins, I do want to say that I do have my fan on because I'm hot. Anytime I film, I get really hot, so sorry if you can hear that, but I'm going to try to talk over that. So yeah, let's just get straight into this video. Okay, so these are the books. One of them is not in my presence right now, but I'm still gonna mention it. I'm gonna try to go by my oldest read to my most recent read, but honestly I really don't know the timeline like that, so bear with me please. So starting off, we have Troy. If you go to my school, you know. If you go to my school, you know. I was assigned this the summer going into 9th grade. It was for a social studies class that was required for me to take as a freshman. All I gotta say is if you like Greek mythology, you're really gonna love this. It's Greek mythology to the max with a lot of plot twists that you wouldn't really expect. There's other characters that are not a part of Greek mythology, but they are a part of this storyline. And it's so good, y'all. It's like betrayal, it's love triangle, it's pregnancy. I literally love this book. I do think that if you don't really know the Greek gods and goddesses, reading up on them before you read this will help you so much, because it's very easy to get confused. When I read this, I read it during a hair appointment. One hair appointment, and I finished this whole book. It was that good. Like, I just, because once you, it's like a point. Like, as you can see, my book is broke, so you can see I've had it for a little while, but it's just, it's that good. And I definitely think if you want to get into Greek mythology, this is a really good way to do it. Like, it tells the story of Greek mythology. It's such a good book, such a good plot, and honestly it really just keeps you on the edge of your chair, like what happens next. Definitely recommend. I read this a while ago, so I don't have like a little post about it on my Instagram, but I would give this 100 out of 10, like hands down. Okay, so for this book, I gotta give it to my sister. I would never have known about this book if it wasn't for my sister. So this is Paradise by Judith McNaught. It's a romance novel. Like, the tabs on here don't even show like how much I really love this book, because when I read this book, I was just really starting to get into like tabbing my books. So good. Literally, I'm reading Perfect, which is like the second book in this like series, because of this. I'm gonna try to explain this like the best way I can, but basically in very simple terms, we have a rich girl, a not so rich boy come together, but we have a demanding father who doesn't really like said boy. Then we have an unplanned pregnancy, we have a lot of betrayal and heartbreak, and then we have them coming together as adults, competing head to head. We have a girl boss, we have a guy boss. Like, this is so good. My sister said that like she thinks Judith McNaught is like a really good romance author, and I definitely agree. I agree, because she got you on your edge of your chair, anticipating, and like it gets spicy. Like right around this like middle portion, things start to go down, and I'm not meaning like downhill. I'm talking about down. But it's so good, and I definitely recommend 10 out of 10. And I also rated this on my Instagram if you guys want to go see that. So I'm gonna guess that the next book that I read was probably this one. As you can see, I really love this book. This is when I was like really in like my tabbing phase. I'm still in tabbing, like it's not a phase. I'm never gonna grow out of it, but I definitely tabbed this book up to the max. This is not that new of a book. I won't say that it's old at all, it's not, but a lot of people read this before I read it. I read it in 2021, but a lot of people read it before then, and it's now 2022, so if you haven't read it, take the initiative to go do so. But I like this book because it brings about so many major and modern day things that we don't really talk about, like transphobia and trans people. It talks about misogyny and feminism. It talks about being gay and figure out your sexuality. It's such a good book, and it's told by a character that I think that if you are around like the 15 to 18-year-old age, you would definitely relate to more. I think that's why I liked it so much, because I was 16 when I read this, so it was just such a great book, especially since like we were having those discussions during that time. Because I read this during the summer, so those discussions about LGBTQ+ and surrounding Black Lives Matter, because the character is also a person of color. All these conversations were happening while I was reading this book, so seeing them all take place within these characters and these plotting and settings, mind blown. I really enjoyed this book. It was so good, and I cried, y'all. I really cried. I remember that night too. But I was sitting on my bed and I was finishing it. I finished this probably in 2 days. Such a good book, and it's really a quick read. In all honesty, it's a really quick read. If you want like a little plot line, all I'm gonna say is, of course, it surrounds what I just talked about, but it also surrounds, it does have a love interest. It does have a little love interest. It's a bit of a betrayal, quote unquote. Not really, but a little bit. Definitely is a coming of age book, so around that, as I said, 16, like 15 to 18-year-old age, and you're coming to like question stuff about yourself, this is a really good book for that. Next, we have Atomic Habits by James Clear. I would never ever promote a self-help book if I really didn't like it. This book had me mind blown. Crazy thing is that I actually read it for my AP Psych class this year. I read it this summer going into this year, and I was going to read it no matter what, like whether my class required it or not. But I'm really glad that my class did require it, because it really forced me to read it and forced me to pay attention, because I had to write a paper on it. When I tell you, I think this book is really life-changing. No matter your age, this book can really help you, especially if you're working on like bettering yourself and like becoming a better person. You want to be more productive. This book, he tells stories as he goes, not just about his personal life, but also about just like worldly things that have happened, and how these changes can help and better your life. And honestly, I definitely think that's, at least not, of course not all my bad habits are like diminished because I read this. No, I still have mine, but it's working for me to build better habits, while also working for me to break those bad ones. So next I have 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Heart. This book is so cute. It's so cute. And the crazy thing is, little story time, my sister, a couple weeks ago, I read this in October, I think. My sister called me like a week ago and was like, oh my god, I gotta give you a book recommendation. I said, oh yeah, what? She said 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I said, oop, already read that. Already read that, and we both like talked about it, and we both agreed it's such a good book. Such a good book. Now, I like about this, not only is it written by a Black author and it's about Black people, but it's a plot line that you wouldn't really like imagine for Black people. Writing about Black people or reading about Black people is always about Black trauma. You know, it's always about the typical Black trauma too, being shot and being killed, or it revolves around gang violence and family drama and stuff like that. And yes, this is about Black trauma, but in such a different way. It talks about mental illness and how Black people deserve to go to therapy too, and how we deserve to get help, how we can suffer from that stuff too. It also is told in a very romantic way because it is a romantic novel. And the crazy thing is, I think this is kind of ironic, the main character, the woman, she is an author. They're both authors, very well-known author, and just within itself, that's just amazing. Like, I love this book so much. So next we have How It Went Down by Kiera Magoon. I'm hoping that I said that right, but this book takes a different turn than 7 Days of June. So for me, honestly, it's not even the plot line that gets me for this book. It's the style in which it's written. So basically, instead of it being written from one main character's point of view, throughout the book, not even just by chapter, but throughout these chapters, throughout each page, there's a different character speaking. So we get to hear from all these different people in the book that are technically main characters within this scene. And the plot is about Tariq, a Black boy who was shot by a white man. And it obviously stirs up this really big, massive thing within the community. And we're now hearing about it from the people that were associated with Tariq, the people that came to help and get news publicity for Tariq. As I said, it really is the style in which it is written that draws you in. Hearing everyone's different perspective of how some of these characters didn't care that Tariq died. It didn't do nothing to them. For others, you would think that they would have that same mindset, but in reality, it's hitting them way harder. It's hitting them on such a deeper level, and it makes them reflect in their life. And honestly, as a Black person, obviously makes me reflect on my life and my community, because gang violence and gun violence are just two huge things within my own community. So just reading this book, chef's kiss. Okay, so before I tell you my last book recommendation, I do have another book recommendation. I'm going to put a picture on the screen because I recommended this book to my sister, and when she came over into my room, she took it, and I don't have the actual copy of it in my hands, but I still want to recommend it because it's just so good. So Lovely War, so many words I can just say, but like, I really can't even tell you how good it is. You just have to read it. You just have to read it. So basically, it's a historical fiction mixed with Greek mythology, and it's told from the perspective of the goddess Aphrodite, the goddess of love. She talks about how basically she got these two military couples together during the upcoming uproar of a war, basically. But how she tells it, why she tells it, is just so deep. It is so good. Like, the passion behind it, like, I can't. And I know historical fiction is definitely not everyone's like cup of tea, and trust me, sometimes it really isn't mine, but this is told just like beautifully. And not only that, it's Greek mythology too. So anything with Greek mythology, count me in. It's just so good. Yeah, go read it. So finally, my last book I'm going to recommend to you guys. Now, I can recommend a lot of books, and I definitely can recommend more than this, so I would do more videos. But the last book I'm going to recommend for this video is An Amber in the Ashes by Saba. I don't want to pronounce their name wrong, so I'm not going to say it, but I will put it on the screen. This is a dystopian novel to the max. I know a lot of people don't like dystopian novels, and I get it because like they all have the same plot. And I'm not about to sit here and say, oh, this plot is different, because it's really not. But I can always go for a good dystopian. I'm sorry, I can always go for a good dystopian. So basically, I'm going to give you a very simplistic overview, and I need y'all to keep up. There's an empire. The empire is bad. That's what makes it a dystopian society. But we have one person who works for the empire. He's a soldier. We have a girl on the other side who does not work for the Empire. She doesn't like the Empire. The Empire took everything away from her. She despises the Empire. The Empire takes her brother. So now she's involved with the Empire because she has to go find her brother because he's the only thing she has left. Because of that, she meets the soldier along her journey. Connection. But crazy thing about it, you would think it would be like, oh, they fall in love, they fight the Empire. Yes and no. So this book kind of ends on a cliffhanger because just as we're really starting to see them come together and build that love connection, it just cuts off. Like the book, you have to read book 2. I haven't read book 2 yet, so I cannot tell you how this love story goes. But it was kind of like a love triangle at the end, a little bit. It was very weird, but it's really good. I would say read it, especially if you like dystopian novels or you like a quick read. This is really, really good. I don't really know what to tell you. Like, if you don't like dystopian novels, you may not like this, but I also think this is a really good novel. It's written very beautifully. So those are all the books that I'm going to recommend for you guys today. But I always, as I said, post on my Instagram what I'm reading, and I rate them, and I post a little bit about them. So if you ever want to check out what I'm reading, go ahead and get from my Instagram. But other than that, that's the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.